We are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
I'm Ryan.
And before we get into tonight's matchup of the Pistons versus the Miami Heat, I want to give you all a quick reminder to like and subscribe. If you are going through a whole Revved Up recap and you haven't subscribed yet, you're doing something wrong. So make sure to like and subscribe. Even if you're watching and you're a Miami Heat fan, subscribe. I'm all about it. You're all about it. Let's follow one of the best Detroit Pistons podcasts. The Pistons are one of the better young teams in the NBA. Show some love. All right, I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into today's recap of Pistons versus the Miami Heat. Tonight's final score was 118-105 in the Miami Heat's favor. Tonight, we saw Jimmy Butler do his thing in the second half. That's really what decided tonight's matchup.
Yeah, in the first half, it was pretty close. It was a normal game for us in the sense that we're going to compete. And I'm glad to see that, given that against Orlando there, we pretty much gave up. But we come out even stronger than we did against Orlando. And you saw that through like every quarter, it was close. So the first quarter, Miami 31, us 27, Miami 28, us 25. Like it was close in the first two quarters. And usually the third quarter, you see teams establish themselves. And we outscored Miami, which normally that doesn't happen. We outscored them 27-21. And then the fourth quarter is when Jimmy Buckets did his thing. And they outscored us 38-26. And so, and like the whole game, we were within 3-4 points at times, and it was like, okay, we're on a roll. But then Jimmy Butler did his thing, and that's what he's known for. He's known for being clutch in big time moments, and that's what he did tonight. He lit us up for what was it? 27 points, 8 boards, 8 assists, 4 steals, and shot 9 of 12 the game and had 9 out of 11 makes at the free throw line tonight in 35 minutes. Like he did his thing and you clearly saw it. But honestly, take away Jimmy Butler out of this game, we would have beaten Miami.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Jimmy Butler is a guy that I really don't think gets the love he deserves. I mean, he's a very well-known guy in today's NBA, but to go 9 of 12 from the field and then put up 27 points, and a guy really proves he's a superstar or he's legit when it's a neck and neck game up until halftime. And then the second half, the guy turns on another gear. And that's what we saw from Jimmy Butler. He was able to get buckets when the Heat needed to, and they were able to get that separation. Now, we're not, I told you so, guys, but we kind of are at the same time. Tonight, we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. We want to see Jalen Duren and James Wiseman at the 4 and 5. We don't care who's at the 4, who's at the 5, but we want to see those two guys get minutes together. And tonight, we finally saw them start and get starter minutes. Jalen Duren finished with 35 minutes, James Wiseman with 29, and a lot of those were with each other. Jalen Duren finished with 20 points, 14 rebounds, 7 of 8 shooting in 35 minutes. I mean, come on, what else can you want? And then James Wiseman, 14 points, almost fouled out there, struggled with fouls at times, but 6 of 14 shooting, 6 rebounds. That we kind of want him at a little bit more. But with Jalen Duren getting 14, I mean, somebody's got to get those rebounds, and Jalen just got more tonight. I think there'll be nights where they go back and forth. I literally just commented to somebody on TikTok, for Jalen Duren to be an all-star, I want him at 24 points and 11 rebounds a game, and he nearly matched that tonight. What were your thoughts watching these guys play together?
Electric. It just felt like it was meant to be. And I mean, when we saw this earlier in the later part of the season, we were like, oh yeah, they're perfect together. And then we just haven't seen that. You've seen Jalen Duren coming off the bench for the last couple nights or so, and it's like, oh, what's going on there? But at the same time, you can understand it because he's coming off an injury and he's been just slowly getting back into the flow of things. And tonight he finally did his thing once again. And the fact that he only missed one shot the whole night and only missed one
Yeah.
free throw and had 20 points, 14 boards, an assist and a steal and a block, and only had 3 fouls
Stat
and
sheet
only
stuff.
2 turnovers. That's probably Jalen Duren's best game of the whole season. And that's saying a lot, given that we've seen so many nights this year where he's lit up the box score. And then James Wiseman, yeah, he didn't get his 10 rebounds like he has been consistently lately, but that's fine because Duren's picking up that slack a little bit. And I really do think it'll go back and forth a little bit here and there. But I will point out, look at the matchups tonight. James Wiseman, majority of the night was guarding up against Bam Adebayo. And so
Right.
when you have, and Bam is an all-star, he's a great center, and he's pretty much identical in Wiseman's style, just Bam is a little bit smaller than
Mhm.
Wiseman,
Right.
but I mean, Bam Adebayo had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Like he had a solid night too. And not everybody on their so nobody on their team had more rebounds than Jimmy Butler, and he had 8. Everybody on their team though had more than 2 rebounds. So like everybody was hitting the glass for Miami. And so it's kind of it makes sense that Wiseman may have less just given the fact that everybody on Miami is hitting the glass. And just imagine you're sitting there boxing everybody out, and so is Duren. But then you're seeing these guards just flash in there and getting the board underneath you. And it's like you can
Right.
understand that. But I will say Wiseman and Duren together is perfect, and they're the bigs that'll take us to the promised land.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I love the callback. Callback. Make sure if you guys haven't watched that episode, that's last week's episode, I believe. So make sure to go check out that episode. We talk about what big man duo is going to bring us to the promised land. And we talked about Jalen Duren and James Wiseman, and they were the most favored by far. Now, if you're a Pistons fan, you should also be fired up about this. Jaden Ivey has found his place in the NBA. I really feel like he's gotten comfortable these last couple weeks, and I hate to say it, but it's been since Bojan's been gone. I'm just gonna say it. It's been since he's gone. And Jaden Ivey tonight with 30 points, 4 of 6 from the 3-point line, 7 assists. So he's also showing the love to his teammates. And this is what I love. The high efficiency from the field. 11 of 15 from the field on 37 minutes rather. I mean, he played nearly the whole game. I've been so happy with Jaden Ivey's play. He is ready and primed for when Cade comes back next season.
Yeah, and Weaver said in his letter to us fans here that even though Cade's been out and we weren't expecting that to happen, other guys have grown, and that's Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey, every single time he steps out on the floor, he grows. And
Yep.
it doesn't matter if he lights up the box score or not, he's growing still. And you're seeing that. Like he drops 30 points on the Miami Heat of all
Yeah.
teams. Like they're a playoff team. That roster is stacked. Eric Spoelstra is one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time. And so the
Mm-hmm.
fact that Jaden Ivey is lighting them up and they can't stop him is like, whoa. And he's a rookie. Like it would be one thing if this was his second year or if he was in Killian Hayes' shoes a little bit in the sense of like, oh, he just went off for 30. Oh, that's surprising. But no, we've seen this time and time again. Even though
Yeah.
it hasn't been 30 points, it's been double-digit scoring nights every single time out. And that's what 36, 37 consecutive games in a row of double-digit scoring. So
Yeah.
like he's doing his thing and he's lighting it up.
I know we have both been waiting for this for a while, but we finally saw a spark from Isaiah Livers. 15 points, 3 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the 3-point line, 4 of 9 from the field in 23 minutes. I mean, Isaiah Livers, that's really where we want him at. I'm fine with 15. If he gives us even 11 every night, I just want to see him in the double digits figure, because if he's lingering anything below that, for him as a not a go-to scorer, but as a NBA level scorer, we want him in those double digits. It was great to get 15 from him.
Yeah, and for Livers, when you look back at his time at Michigan, he was the go-to guy. And so he got the ball a lot and he put up buckets and everything. But then with the Pistons, he hasn't been the go-to guy. But then he's been the go-to guy at times when we've needed points, and I don't think that works well for him. I think he needs to be like the guy that. So in this situation, Ivy goes off for 30 points. Duran 20, Wiseman 14, Killian 7, quiet 7, but still 7. Umarui 11, Corey Joseph 6, RJ Hampton 2. So my point is that he doesn't need to be the guy to do something. So like when Ivy's going for 30, that takes off all the pressure on Livers and just to do his thing and be himself. Whereas if everybody is like, oh crap, we need points here, Livers feels like, oh no, I have to do something. And then he focuses on doing something and then he fails time and time again. But when Ivy is doing his thing and others are doing their thing, he doesn't have to be like the guy that has to score right now. He can just be free flowing and do his thing. And that's what we saw tonight out of him. He was very comfortable. It was like prime Michigan Day Isaiah Livers. And I'm just happy to see that finally. And I think if he's just one of the side pieces and does stuff like this, I'm happy.
Typically, the Pistons get the biggest push from their bench. It's been normal for our starters to kind of get the Pistons off to a slow start. That has not been uncommon for them. But really, tonight's game, the starters gave what we needed them to give. Like you were saying, Jaden Ivey with 30, Jalen Duren with 20, James Wiseman with 14. And then really the only guy with double digits off the bench was Eugene Amarui. And it was kind of a quiet 11. It wasn't nothing too shiny or sparkly, but he was able to get to that double digits. Typically, like when our roster is fully healthy, we see Hamidou Diallo, Alec Burks, now, next season, Eugene Amarui will all have double digits, and because we need that push off the bench. But tonight, our starters were able to make it happen.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what you expect out of a lineup like tonight. When you have Wiseman, Duren, Ivy, and Killian all together, you expect that. And so the fact that we expected it and we got what we wanted is very good to see, given how young those four guys are, including Livers in that mix. And yeah, I personally don't consider Livers an every night starter, but this season he has been pretty much. So the fact that he got 15 out of it is I'm happy. But normally our bench is the one that is lighting it up. But when you have that caliber of a starting five on the court, it's not surprising to me that all of them did their thing. And even though Killian had 7 points, 8 assists, and 1 rebound in 42 minutes, he only took 8 shots, meaning he was being really unselfish all night long. And that's exactly what you want out of a guy like him. Because, yeah, it may not, the box score does not look great for him. But the fact that he only took 8 shots, gave you the 7 points, and still had the 8 assists, but then he's a factor on defense. Yeah, he doesn't have any recorded steals or recorded blocks, but his presence is there. He's one of the better defenders in the league. And so, like against Miami, you can see how Jimmy Butler and company would struggle against a guy like Killian because he's just all over the place. He has length for a guard. And so, even though he didn't light up the box score, he still had a great game.
What I was really happy with was Kyle Lowry coming off the bench. He's a guy where he can burn you on any given night. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but he's a savvy player that knows how to get calls, knows how to get his shots up. And we were able to keep him only at 11 points 3 of 6 from the field. So yes, he got to double digits, but it wasn't like sometimes bench guys on opponents' teams can really burn us. Sometimes we're looking at 2 guys off the bench with 22 points. And for Corey Joseph, Killian to be able to keep Kyle Lowry at only 11, I'm happy with that, honestly.
Yeah, and Kyle Lowry, historically speaking, in his days in Toronto, has been the go-to guy outside of DeMar. And yeah, so he has been a go-to guy. But now in Miami, he's in a new role. He's not the go-to guy anymore. When you have Jimmy Butler, when you have Bam Adebayo, when you have Tyler Hero, you're not going to be the go-to guy. But the roster of Miami is just built to win.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're sitting at 37 losses is not because they're not good. It's because they've been riddled with injuries like we have this season. That's the only reason they have 37 losses. Otherwise, they would be one of the top tier teams in the East every single season. Because like Kevin Love, as an example, coming over in free agency after being bought out from the Cavs, like that's a huge signing. Even though he's not giving you double-digit points, he's still one of the best players in NBA history, and he's coming off your bench and giving you 7 points, 4 boards, and 2 assists, and a block, in only 17 minutes. Right. And then you have Gabe Vincent, who is one of the more underrated, undrafted players in recent time, gives you 36 minutes, goes off for 22 points. Like, that's really good. Miami just does a great job at finding players that nobody else likes to find. Like Max Strus, as an example. Even though he had 9 points tonight, typically he'll go off for 15 plus. And so, like, they have all the weaponry. So the fact that we even stayed close quarter by quarter until all the way up until the fourth, that is something very, very hopeful and enjoyable to see, because you saw us against the Orlando Magic. We were trash. And so the fact that we played even better against a playoff team makes me happy.
It was really nice to see us be able to keep up with the Miami Heat's rebounding. We know Bam Adebayo is a notoriously good rebounder. Jimmy Butler with 8 tonight. So it's like he gets his rebounds. He's very active on the boards. And to see a duo like Jalen and James, and to see us out rebound an Eastern Conference team that is one of the higher up teams, that's very good for me to see. I see that and I'm like, A1. I love it, because these games where talent wise, right now, the Miami Heat got us bested. We need to be able to keep up in certain categories like assists, rebounds, turnovers. The Pistons did have 14 turnovers tonight, so not ideal, but we've seen worse, so I'll take it. We were able to keep the game close. But with a loss like tonight, doing the recap after 4 quarters, everything's wrapped up. I'm not frustrated with a loss like this.
No, and we actually hit our averages for turnovers and fouls at 14 and 22. So the fact that we hit our averages, but we still kept this close the whole night, and we almost beat Miami, and the fact that we didn't get blown out like we did against Orlando, like, even though it's a loss, I'm still happy because we were very competitive. We kept it close all night long. It wasn't until the fourth quarter, and then that's where things got worse. And honestly, even though it did get worse in the fourth quarter, we still had 26 points in the fourth quarter. We still did our thing. It's just you had Jimmy Butler going off. And that's the only reason why we lost, is because Jimmy Butler went off. And so if Jimmy Butler doesn't go off, we win the game. And even though, that would hurt our odds for going to the number 1 overall pick, whatever. I'm still happy because we're beating or keeping up with a playoff caliber team. And so, my goals for the team for the last couple stretch of games here: be competitive. Don't just give up like you did against Orlando. Don't do that. That's frustrating because I don't like being negative on recaps. I like being positive.
Right.
So like tonight, I'm positive because even though we lost, we kept it close against a good team. And Jaden Ivey goes off for 30. Jalen Duren and James Wiseman finally start together.
Yep.
So like everything is just coming into fruition. And that's what we like to see with a night like tonight. Even though we lose, we still have a lot of positives to look at.
You heard it here first, folks. Yes, the Pistons are losing, but there are positives. That will do it for today's Revved Up recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Miami Heat. Tonight's final score was 118 to 105, and the winner was indeed the Miami Heat. Before you guys leave, make sure to go check out our latest video that just dropped Saturday. It is titled The Cade Cunningham Effect, and we get into the details about what current rookies Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey will play best with Cade when he returns next season. And then we also talk about draft prospects that will play well with Cade: Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, and so on and so forth. So make sure to go check out episode number 21 and like and subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you can see when the next Revved Up recap drops. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.